The importance of mentoring isn't lost on those that are most in need of a guiding hand. Mentoring is a universal language of hope for our future, and the act transcends ethnicity, race, and religion. This is cross-cultural calibration, and it is best shown through the work of our next guest. Please welcome Jeannine Gant, CEO and President of Big Brothers Big Sisters of Metropolitan Detroit. The chairman of Ideal Group is Frank Venegas Jr. and Rachid Elabed, the Community Engagement Manager at the Arab Community Center for Economic and Social Services. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So Jeannine, in your work, you're on the front lines of trying to get people to mentor young people. Only 1% of the population.
Yes,
that is an unbelievable statistic.
I was going to tell you that.
How can that be that
you
low?
Knew that.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's amazing when we all think of, as adults, we kind of look back and know that we were mentored at some point in our lives, whether it was a coach or a teacher or a non-custodial adult. But research says that 1% of the population mentors in a formal mentoring process. Now, I don't think that really includes informal mentoring, because we talked a lot about that.
People who know the neighbor kid and look out for them, that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it's a lot, if it has to do with fear. People just aren't sure. Someone earlier talked about people are afraid of our youth, which is amazing to me that we be afraid of that. But I think we have a responsibility as adults of a civilized nation to take care of our youth. Yeah. And I think we each have a responsibility to step up and help support them the best way that we can.
And this says we're not doing it. Do you feel like that's a number that has decreased over time? I mean, is it sort of modern life that has people not feeling like they have the time or the space for this?
Actually, it actually has increased slightly.
Is that right?
And it's actually increased slightly amongst males of color. And I think a lot of that has to do with President Obama's initiative called My Brother's Keeper, which is really about trying to get more minorities involved with mentoring. So we have seen a slight increase in that area, which is fantastic, but it's still not enough. Yeah. You probably have about 1 in 3 kids who are mentored, and in the city of Detroit alone, you've got at least 14,000 high-risk youth. Yeah. Not just at risk, high risk. Yeah. You have multiple risk factors, and we know that mentoring works. And it's really not that difficult. We talk about with Big Brothers Big Sisters, 4 hours a month. Right. 4 hours a month doing some regular, ordinary stuff that you do can change the trajectory of a child forever.
Yeah. I wonder if fear plays a role here too. Fear of failure, fear that what you do won't have the effect that you imagine that it will. That I'm better off just not engaging.
I think that there are a couple things. One, it's probably like this with most mentoring organizations. You have more women that step up to mentor than men, because we're relational. That's just who we are. Men are transactional. So by the time we're able to get men through the door, we're so excited when we see men come through our door. But it's just more challenging, but then you've got more boys that need to be mentored. And that's where you have this really big issue. And people need not to fear mentoring. Truly, it is not that difficult. You don't have to have a PhD in mentoring. You don't have to have a PhD in youth development. All you truly have to do is just be an adult that's interested in caring about these kids. But the consistency is important. We have so many kids who have had people walk out of their lives, parents that aren't there for a variety of different reasons. They're in foster care, parents are incarcerated, a variety of things. So the idea of just committing to that youth for 1 year, 4 hours a month, truly makes a difference for those kids, but just be there. All you have to do is just be there.
Yeah. Frank, you have an unusual mentoring story. Your business was outside the city, and then you moved it back in and confronted some of the kids, the young people who were, gangbanging around that business, and now some of them work for you. Is that right?
Oh, quite a few of them work for me, but quite a few of them have graduated from my program and gone on to graduating from university, raising kids, going to different parts of the country. But we did it because, when we moved back to Detroit, we were one of the first companies. This was 20 years ago, and
in the 90s.
Yeah, it was actually 20 years ago exactly. It was in 97, and we were faced with the situation where I was bringing in people from outside the city And I looked at what I was providing as a work environment, and well, I needed people to hire, and I had to fix things. And so what I did is I went in the neighborhood, got 4 of the 5 major gang leaders to sit down with me. I said, what do you guys want to create some peace around my neighborhood? I thought I was going to give them a little money, but they asked me for jobs with medical, dental, don't leave, and opportunity. From that point on, it's just been unbelievable.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would be surprised to hear that if you go and talk to somebody who's in a gang and sort of reach out to them, that what they want is a job, right? What they want is opportunity.
Well, that, but one of the most incredible things is a lot of the people in the gang don't want their nephew or their brother in
to
the
follow
gang.
them, sure.
So they're soliciting me and say, I have a good person in my family that I'd like to see start at the right side of the road. But with that, mentoring is just it. You have to do it to continue.
Rachid, how hard is it to sort of gain the confidence of these mentees and the families that you guys are working with?
You know, I'm blessed to work with youth on a daily basis. I mentor over 40 youth. It's all about building trust and having that relationship with the youth, relate to them, be like their big brother, so they can come to me for anything. They need a ride, they have family issues, they need help with money for clothes, anything like that. I'm there for them, and I act like their big brother. And I give them the opportunity to really get exposed to community service and get involved and giving back into their community, which leads to scholarship opportunities, recommendation letters, community service hours. I give them tours of universities, a variety of different things that I'm blessed to do and work with these youth.
Yeah.
And they all, like I have 2 young women that actually got full rides to Harvard, believe it or not, through the program, through Access. These youth now, they register voters. They just did, for MLK Day, they collected over 200 coats and they passed it out to the homeless shelter actually in Monroe County, downriver, because they read a story that there was a shelter that was in need. So the youth are very empowered, and I believe investing in our youth at such a young age. High school, because that's where they really shape their future and they really identify themselves. I get a lot of youth that are very quiet to themselves and so forth. I break them out of their shells. And I'm blessed, and I love youth, and I'm very passionate of it. And it's because when I growing up, I never got involved. I went to football games, the mall, I had parties and everything. I didn't know the importance of giving back. So I'm taking my personal experience and giving it to the youth. And now we're just one big family, and they are very still involved. They go to college, they graduate, they're young professionals now, and they're still giving back.
And they come back.
That's the
key.
That's the key, and people have to understand, they come back. In our communities, sometimes they're very isolated, so they don't really understand the issues that's maybe going on in East Detroit or something and so forth. So I really expose them to that. I don't sit and have meetings with them. I take them out in the field and really see and explore. Yes.
Frank, I want you to talk about some of the mentors you had who got you to where you are. You're one of the most successful businessmen I know, but I know you got there because other people sort of pulled you along.
Well, I'm on Mentor 159 right now, and I pretty much predict I'll have over 200 before I quit. But it's important. What I just heard is that we make sure that our kids who we mentor, that there's a rule they must pay back. One of the nicest things is we start real early in their 3rd grade, 4th grade, going up through the 7th and 9th grade, and then continuing in life. So we make sure that those 3rd graders that we're mentoring, when they become 6th graders, they're now mentoring 3rd graders, and if they don't, they fall out of the program. So it creates this continuing of, protection. Protection of what we need to watch over.
What about you, Jeannine? Who were some of your mentors, or what did they do that really set you on the right path?
I think the most important thing for me was that my mentor saw me. I think so many of our kids feel as though they're invisible. So just to have someone actually pay attention to you, to see you, to acknowledge that you exist, to tell you that you're good. to give you a high five. I was an athlete, I was an All-American gymnast, so to be in this space with boxing, I totally get it. Sports works.
Yeah.
And in fact, what they say is that kids who are in sports are more likely to have a mentor than those who are not in sports. So organizations like this and Detroit PAL, combined with mentoring organizations, combined with organizations that provide tutoring. See, in order for our kids to achieve these long-term outcomes, it's going to take everybody. It's going to be all of us and everything that we have to offer that's going to help these kids to be successful. Yeah. And that's what allowed me to be successful.
Rachid, what about you? You said you were partying in high school, but I would imagine there was somebody also sort of showing you the right path.
My dad made me very independent. I was, teaching me, things don't come for free. You want those Nikes, you go and work for it.
Right.
So at 12 years old, I had my own little cutting grass business that I started, and I was cutting grass and making money and had customers, and I got my own things. And he says, if you want things, and you're going to work hard and accomplish that. And he drilled school how important it is and everything. But what he didn't do is tell me how important it is to give back in community service.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I was blessed to have a sister that's very engaged. Rachid Elabed, that I looked up to, my sister, that got me to involved and told me, hey, come out and volunteer at Access when I was 21 years old. And I've been at Access since 10 years now.
Can I say one more thing?
Go ahead, quickly.
This segment that you have is really about minority groups getting involved in mentoring. One of the things I saw in some research is that oftentimes minority groups are afraid of formal institutions.
Yes.
So they won't step up to do things like mentoring. But it's not about fear, right? It's about coming out of your shell to help serve other people. So whether that's through formal organizations or informally,
do it however you
support
can.
our kids.
All right, guys, thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.